Welcome back to part two. Probably a part two of three. After realizing what I've got left to do, the third part may be hooking up all the electronics and wiring the control panel and everything. Maybe even working on the bulk tank that I have just recently acquired. So in this part, I think what I'm going to start doing is taking the 1.5 inch HERW tube that I've got, and somewhere in this area here, start drilling out either 4 or 6 holes on each side of this vent tube. And then I'm going to take this and sleeve it through, and the pipes that are closer to the vent, I'm probably going to put in my bender and bend them a little bit to get them to go around. They're going to be solid from one end to the other. They're going to be welded on the faces on each side, so it's literally just a pass-through for air. On the back side, we'll have a exhaust fan, and it will be on a thermostat controlled monitor. And as long as it's below a certain preset, it'll stay off, and as soon as that temperature starts to rise, it'll kick on and circulate the air until the temperature drops. I don't know if I want to do 6 on each side or 4 on each side. I think the flow, the volume of this thing is not that high, so the fewer pipes I have will actually cause a little bit more pressure to come out. So I'll probably do 4 on each side. And you know what I may do is I may not even curve them. What I may do is just angle them, have them go like that and then like that, so they'd be like here and here, and they'd shove air out in all different directions versus just straight forward. I'll have to think about that. All right, other than that, I've got to make the supply oil tank, get all that welded to the back of the tank. I've got to make the flanges for the air exhaust coming in, and then I make the flange for the blower motor. Probably figure out where I'm going to put the control panel, whether I'm going to have it on the tank itself or mount it on the wall, and get all that cut out on the CNC, get everything folded, all the corners welded, and get it all mocked up. So, time to start. So from the front, it's probably going to be a little dull, but when we go around the back, that's where all the action is going to be. Got the blower mocked up. I've got the oil tank brackets mocked up. Got this sitting about where it's going to sit. I still have to build that, but I wanted to get this here so that I know what to pipe over to my fuel line coming in. So I'm probably going to 90 off of this and then have a transitional angle coming up. I just want a little bit of slope going down. When I come up into this valve, I'm going to have a monitoring hole drilled through the conduit so that when I crack the valve open, I can look through and see how much flow I'm getting. And I'm debating on whether or not to go ahead and put an overflow pipe in just in case something gets backed up. But I mean, this being a 3/4 inch hole, it shouldn't get backed up at all. So I'm debating the overflow pipe.
Real.
So to make this a little easier, I've got the tank drawn out, the outer circumference, the inner pipe that I have to go around, the massive hole in the back, and all the little target points. That's the center line. So I can draw this up right here and make sure they all fit before I take measurements and everything I need before I even try to stick them inside the heater. So it's time to start cutting and bending. So I didn't want to make you watch the whole thing. This is basically what it looks like. All those are going to come out 4 inches on center. Well, 4 inches on center from each other. 2 inches, they'll start 2 inches off of midline. When they come back here, I obviously couldn't lay them out just right because each one overlaps the other, so they'll be in the way. So I'll get the closest one in, weld it, tack it in place, cut off the extra so it's not in the way, then get the next one, so forth. So that's the next part of this project. Getting all these things lined up and hacked off and welded in place. This is just the top row. I still have the bottom row to do. So this is what it'll look like inside. So obviously I've got more work to do, but just showing you what it looks like. I've got to grind all these flat, waiting for them to cool off so they don't tear up my flap discs. Those go through so you can't tell because they're not open. And this is what 1/4 of it looks like. I've got I just ground all that down. It's not going to be pretty. This is going to be inside like a housing. There's going to be a fan here that bolts into a frame, so these just have to be functional and sealed. So All the heat exchanger tubes are in place and welded up, ground down, and chamfered with the die grinder so they are not sharp. The back is also done. I'm not happy about some of the undercutting that I had here with the fill in, but I had a lot to fill in, so I did my best. Well, it's not my best. I give you that, it's not my best. But I did my average. I'm gonna be building a box around this anyway at a slant, so the fan will blow air through that. So you're not really gonna see them. And it's kind of a scrap project anyway. If it were new, I'd care a little bit more. So you have the oil line, the fuel line plumbed in, got that welded. But I think instead of putting like a union here and a separation and all this, I'm gonna make this a free agent, and I'm gonna have a gap here. I may cut this off a little bit more, but I think what I'm gonna do is take this thread, because that's brass, into steel. I'm gonna take this nipple here, take it over to the lathe, cut this off down to the bottom here, and then make a nozzle. So that way I can make sure that as it's coming out, it comes out dead center of the nozzle into the pipe. Won't hit the walls, won't leak or whatever. And that way I'll have a gap of air that I can actually see the flow and how much I'm actually putting into the heater. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over, grab some steel out of the bin and make myself a nozzle. Now I'm getting everything mocked up. I have this tank tacked into place here and here. I can bend this thing backwards and break those tacks if I need to, but right now it is sitting directly over the pipe. There's the nozzle I made, so that way it'll ensure that that oil comes right out of the center. And if I need to make a funnel here, I can make a funnel, no big deal. I've got plenty of space, but this is my monitoring area so I can see how much oil is actually coming out. I put the combustion blower on, and now I'm getting ready to get the heat exchanger fan on. I just have to take measurements, mock it up, see how far out I'm gonna take it, and cut the metal. 6.5. All right, I got the box mocked up. Fins clear. I'll make a little, I'll probably just fold that down. I don't know if I'm gonna go all the way over with it. We'll see tomorrow how I feel about it. That's all tacked in place. Clearances are good. I've got room underneath to get to the flange. I put rib nuts in here so that way, you can't see them. Rib nuts in so that way I can take this fan on and off from outside. All right, I'll get back on this tomorrow, make it top and bottom. Here are the parts. This is the back, and then these are the sides. So each one of these will go in like this. That one will go in like that. Of course, it'll be better when I've got two hands on it. And this is going to be the back plane that all the equipment will be mounted to, so that way I can run screws through it and it won't come out of the back of the box. I'll tack weld this into the back of the box, and then I can screw all the equipment into that. And then this should be thick enough that when I put the cover on, the back of the devices and all that can swing in without hitting anything in the back of the box. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this all tacked in place and ready to go. All right, so I think inside this box, I went ahead and put in the back plane, and I've got them screwed in, and I've got the holes mounted for mounting it to the wall. But what I've done is put in some self-tappers right now. I was gonna hack them down flush with the back, but I think what I'm gonna do is take these out, put a screw in from the back here, and then weld it into place so I have a threaded post on the inside, and I can just run a nut and a washer down on the inside and get rid of these. Let me see what I've got. If I've got something that I can do that with, then I will. So I went ahead and changed those self-tappers out to studs. I welded a post on the back, and now it's threaded from the inside. So I got my 24 volt power supply, 110 volt relay. These are all 24 volt relays. Went ahead and put some terminal block connections in. Should be 110 neutral, low voltage. And got the holes drilled for the lid. Once I get all the wires in. And then that's that. Screws, corners, and that is the control panel.